Om Shri Krishnaya Nama, Om Shri Raghavendra Nama. Continuing from a previous edition, to illustrate a point is this: regardless of which section of society did a person come seeking Guru Raghavendra Swamy's intervention, he welcomed each and every one with the same amount of pleasure and grace and respect. Such an example is in an incident which occurred when during one of his tours, a person by name Kanakadasa came and met him. Now, to those who are familiar with or who have read about Sri Guru Raghavendra Swamy's lifetime, stories, his biography, or heard about it, they would know that in his previous incarnation as Vyasaraya, he had interacted with Kanakadasa, the poet, in those times. And the same Kanakadasa takes birth again in this period, in this lifetime of Guru Raghavendra Swamy, and appears before him, again known as Kanakadasa. But this time, he comes across as a very humble, poor man who has almost in the last few stages of his life, in fact, last few weeks of his life, he meets Guru Raghavendra Swamy and immediately recognizes him and says, Vyasa. Guru Raghavendra Swamy immediately recognizes him from his previous birth and says, Kanaka, Nina. A hearty banter of exchange of greetings and memories takes place. And Kanaka says, this time I have to ask you, please give me moksha. Guru Raghavendra Swamy very chidingly and very humorously and very childishly tells Kanakadasa, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಗುರುಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಕೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಲ್ಲ, ತರ್ತೀನಿ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ, ತರ್ತೀನಿ, ನಾಳೆ ತರ್ತೀನಿ. He goes Kanaka out of the ashram. And outside his little hut, that is a little distance away from the ashram, is a banana plant which has been there and which Kanakadasa has been saving, knowing that he would meet Guru Raghavendra Swamy somehow or the other and offer the fruits to him. As luck and fortune or misfortune would have it, thieves come in the night while Kanaka is sleeping, cut off the the banana plant from its stem, take it away and leave the remaining stem in the ground. Kanakadasa wakes up in the morning to find the banana plant gone, major portion of it in fact gone, and ruefully puts his hand to his head and says, Oh Deva, ide hoitu. He then, as though memory strikes him from nowhere, as a flash, remembers that he has some mustard seeds with him. He takes it. He says, Nan ide kodtini aurge, kanike andre ide kodtini. Idane kodtini nan aurge. This is what I will offer my Guru, Guru Raghavendra Swamy. And he takes those mustard seeds in his hand, tucks it in a small knot of his panche, of his dhoti, and goes to meet Guru Raghavendra Swamy and asks for his moksha. That time again Guru Raghavendra Swamy chidingly and like a child in fact asks him, Kanike tandiya? Tandidini, he says. Guru Raghavendra Swamy looks at him and puts his hand out as though to receive it. And Kanaka tucks at his dhoti, takes out the mustard grains, pours it into the hand of Guru Raghavendra Swamy, very innocently, very lovingly, and says, Togoli, please accept it, please accept it. This is the kanike, this is the gift that I have brought for you. Now please grant me moksha, as though to say that in return. Guru Raghavendra Swamy, the epitome of kindness, smilingly receives it, lovingly, warmly, takes it and gives it to his assistant and says, please tell the cook to use this in today's meal. From today onwards, in Rayar Matha, mustard seeds will be used during the Chaturmasa time when otherwise it is forbidden by Shastras. Such a divine intervention prevailed. Such was the kindness, such was the magnanimity, such was the love, such was the feeling of respect, regard, and oneness for a man, regardless of which strata of society he came from. This was an example for all of us to understand that regardless of where we come from, which section of society we belong to, the divine is one for each and every one. There is no distinction in the divine's eyes. Who are we to make that distinction between one another? What for are we making that distinction? In fact, our catchphrase should be, let love and peace prevail amongst one and all. Let there be a feeling of brotherhood amongst one and all. Let there be kindness that flows through houses in this world. Let there be regard and respect for each and every one as the free air that blows around for everyone, which we breathe. Let us breathe that too. When one indulges in this and lets it become one's part of one's own life, just try to visualize for yourself the kind of beautiful feeling that would pervade, the kind of magnanimity, the kind of joy that would be there. It would be so divine and so effervescent that probably people would turn around and say, Ram Raj वापस आ गया है क्या? In fact, it is hardly and very difficult for us to do so. It's very easy. All that we need is to start practicing. To start practicing, we need to make a determination, a will to do so. And if we have the will, you can do it. It is for each and every one of us. So let us accept it and let us walk with this in our life's journey forward with one another. That regard, that respect for people, regardless of the strata of society they come from, the section of society they come from, that is something which needs to be there in all of us. The next point that comes out is of how humble a person he was, even at the very beginning of his life as a sannyasi. He had just been initiated into sannyasa. And that same evening, he was sitting and offering his prayers in the ashram when his wife from the Purva Ashrama, by name Saraswati, who on hearing the news of her husband having been initiated into sannyasa, decided to end her life abruptly by jumping into a well, appeared in the form of a spirit just outside the door of the ashram where Guru Raghavendra Swamy was seated, doing his japas. At that moment, he realized that the soul had come, her soul had come and was seeking to interact with him. In place of, or in lieu of his having a dialogue with the soul of his wife, the spirit of his wife that had appeared before him, Guru Raghavendra Swamy very humbly and very sincerely, devotedly, caringly, out of concern for the spirit, merely inquired of her if she had come. On being told in the affirmative, on being replied that yes, indeed she had come as a spirit, Guru Raghavendra Swamy took the sanctified water from his kamandalu in his palm, uttered a mantra on it, and sprinkled it on her spirit that was standing outside the door. At that very moment, once the water touched, the sanctified water fell upon and touched the spirit of Saraswati, the spirit vanished immediately to attain moksha forever. This is a very simple incident which showed that without having to recourse to any kind of unnecessary, unpleasant conversations or exchange of communication, what needed to be done was immediately done, understandingly so, by Sri Guru Raghavendra Swamy immediately after his being initiated into sannyasa. This is a striking feature of the man that showed and stood up as an example for the future, where he would continue to act in the service of others without vested interest or without wasting much time in unnecessary and unwanted communication. In fact, from this one gets a very clear learning that a good coach always acts in the interest of the coachee or the others without wasting time upon frivolous communication, unwanted, unnecessary communication, and is ever eager, ever ready to enable his coachee or the others who are seeking his services. This gives a very clear message to one and all that even in our day-to-day transactions, in our day-to-day life, without being rude, without being unkind, if you are sensitive enough and you are in a state of complete awareness of yourself from within, you would be in a complete state of awareness from in the external, and you would be able to realize, being sensitive enough to what others are approaching you for, immediately assist them to what they require and enable them to continue forward in the journey, whilst you also can continue in your journey. This is something which we all need to learn and take as a leaf from the brilliant life that Sri Guru Raghavendra Swamy lived. Om Sri Krishnaya Namah, Om Sri Raghavendraya Namah.